I'd like to spend a few minutes now talking about the impact of collectability on the recognition of revenue and how this is addressed in IFRS 15. Let's think about what the real issue is. The challenge is that should revenue be recognised if it might not be received? And this might be considered in the context of full receipt, or maybe if part payment has already been received by way of deposits, and how should that be recognised or treated? This is a particular problem because if you do decide to recognise part payments or deposits as revenues, then how would you work out the profit to be recognised if the remainder of the receivable or the revenue wasn't received? So we'll think about this with a simple example, and here we have a company called Poor Technology which enters into a contract to sell Waratahs, a scrum machine. The total purchase price is $500,000 and a non-refundable deposit of $50,000 is payable on delivery of the machine, which occurs on the 15th of January. The remainder is payable at the end of the season, which is the 31st of August. Unfortunately, the Waratahs' performance has been bad and they may not last the season. Hence, collectability is doubtful and revenue shouldn't be recognised or can't be recognised in terms of IFRS 15 on the 15th of January. However, the collectability has to be re-evaluated on a persistent basis, and if collectability becomes assured, then the revenue can be recognised at that point in time. Now, in this situation, we see that the Waratahs start winning games and collectability becomes assured or relatively certain, on the 31st of July, and ultimately payment is received on the 31st of August. So let's think about how this transaction is accounted for in accordance with IFRS 15. Focusing first on the 15th of January, this is when the scrum machine is delivered, and at this point in time a deposit of $50,000 is received. However, the balance of $450,000, well, collectability can't be assured. So, at this point in time, we can't recognise the receipt of revenue, but we have to do something with the deposit. So what we do is we recognise the receipt of the deposit, cash, and because we can't recognise the revenue yet, we have to credit a liability account, unearned revenue. If we move on to the 31st of July, what we can see now is the Waratahs have started winning a game and collectability starts to become more certain. In this context, we can start to recognise the revenue. So the issue is that we have to recognise the revenue, some of which has already been received as the deposit, and some of which will be receivable in the future. So on the 31st of July, we recognise the full amount of the revenue, $500,000, and we recognise the deposit, $50,000, and a receivable. We create a receivable for $450,000. So what you can see is we're recognising the full revenue on the 31st of July, even though we don't receive the money until the 31st of August, and we haven't recognised the deposit as revenue up until this point in time. On the 31st of August, payment is received, and this is just pretty straightforward. We have a receipt of cash and the extinguishment of the account receivable.